from Scram Speed here, making a little video today about a product that I discovered recently within the last 6 months that has really changed the way I've been welding up things in the shop, and it's given me the benefit of not having to have anybody help me a lot when I'm working these early mornings trying to get that bad boy done right there. So before, when doing like roll cages or anything like that, I always ran into an amp control issue where I had to have somebody run a pedal for me if I was in an awkward position. It really sucked, and now I got a really cool product to keep it so that way I can do a lot of stuff by myself. So this is called the Tig Button. It is a handheld amp control button for any welder pretty much. I got it off 6061.com. I subscribe to those guys. They got some cool videos, and it popped up, the Tig button, the way that you control amperage by just, the harder you press, the more amperage you get. And I was skeptical at first because I've used those thumb wheel rollers and things like that, and I've never liked them. They've always been too big and bulky. You can't get inside cars. You can't do anything, in a real tight area, because you really need to have, your hand flat, or if you're bending around a surface, you can't have something big sticking out. It's very hard to control things. This thing's super small. It's very, very small. It's small enough that even when I'm not using it and I'm using my pedal, I can just fold it around and then put my hand right over it. Not a big deal. But it works exactly as a normal foot control pedal, in the sense that the harder you press, the more amperage you get. And it's really trick. It works off of a little controller down here on my welder. So this is the box they send you, and this is the controller. It's got a couple hookups. It's pretty easy to install. It's got, a main power source, which is this guy here, and it's just a 110 that I ran to an extension cord coming off my welder just because it wouldn't fit in that area. Then this one right here is your panel control. So it goes up and just as a normal style that, whatever welder you have, you specify, and they'll give you the plug-in for it, and it works fine. And I got my foot right here dangling, so that way I can swap them out depending on if I'm welding at the table or if I'm welding on the car, and I gotta have my feet available. So it's got that, and then the last thing you hook up is, the button itself and the ground. So it's got a ground wire that they recommend just running to a nice spot on your welder. I got that on. And then the actual lead itself, I just put inside my liner. And I ran it all the way inside my liner, and I just keep the button kind of secured here. It comes with a Velcro strap that doesn't hold it really that good. I just tucked it into my liner and just pulled the zip tie real tight, and it kind of works good. I can swivel it around. But you can get in pretty much any position you want, which is really nice. If you're used to welding, you can put the button on your thumb or on your index finger. It's really trick. If you just put it on this liner, you can just slide it. I got one hand, so I can't exactly slide it around easy, but you can put it in almost any position, and just the harder you press, the easier it is to work. And it comes in super handy when you're doing stuff on a car. And the idea I got to shoot this quick video is because I was doing something that's a great example. I welded on some tabs for my parachute lines to go through this morning, and I got a couple of them done down here, and I was getting ready to do the third one on top, this guy here. And to do that, it's high enough that I need to stand on this panel and then lean all the way over to get that weld. Well, when I'm doing that, look where my feet are. They're somewhere very awkward. I'm standing on a seal. So if I was gonna drag the pedal around, I'd have to put it in the seat and, put my leg over this bar, try to do some funky stuff, and it's a super big pain. And all the times I get caught doing awkward bars or awkward welds in a race car, usually I have to call somebody up and say, hey, come over, give me a hand, or pull a guy off a job in my shop to come over and run the control for me, and just tell him, more or less, or on or off. And now I don't have to do that anymore. I got this Tig control button that works. It works fantastic. It's been kind of a game changer for me. I don't have to have anybody help me. I can do most of the welds, without having anybody assist me at all. The drawback of this thing, if there are any, I would say that it's not for crazy precise, welds. I use this thing for doing roll cages and doing tacks inside of my race car. That's what I use it for. If I can weld it with a pedal, I always will, just because a pedal gives you, I'm used to it. I've got, you know, hundreds of hours with a pedal, and I've got, you know, dozens with a finger. So it's one of those things that it's just very natural for me to use my foot. And if you're trying to do any sort of pulse, you know, if you're trying to pulse, you know, make some real nice dimes on it or something like that, it's very hard to pulse this because you have to constantly put a pressure on it. And one of the drawbacks I did find is you do have to press it rather hard to get the full amperage. So if you're sitting there welding and you're trying to make something really nice at a table, and you're trying to do, you know, almost like a foot pulse, what you're gonna have to do is press harder, and that's gonna move your torch around a lot. And the manipulation you're gonna get from that, you're gonna see in your weld, no doubt. You always will. It needs to be very solid, and, you know, your angle needs to be straight and all that stuff. And you won't be able to do that if you're pressing a button, especially if you're doing it for a long period of time. Your finger will get tired, your hand will get tired. So if you can do it on a bench or use a pedal, I always switch this bad boy over, and I use, you know, I just switch it over real quick, and I use my pedal for whatever I can. But in those instances where I can't get to a weld, it's somewhere really, really tricky, I pretty much always switch over to the finger control, move it around, get in position, and then, you know, at least do my tack and get it, you know, get it tacked so that way I can do the final weld with a pedal or something like that. If I can move it out of the car or take it out, you know, do the weld, whatever. But this thing is super nice. It's worth its weight in gold. I love it. That's pretty much my full review of it. I don't have any complaints with it so far. It's worked fine. It seems to be made of pretty good quality. It's worth the, you know, 250 bucks, I think is what I paid for it, something like that. But that's a very small price to pay when you have to, you know, pay somebody man hours to help you out on a welder. So really cool product, and I highly recommend it.